Hello, hello, my friends. AmyR here with Prairie Paper and Ink. Welcome back to my face and my card making space. And I need to get this intro filmed before I head out to shovel snow. And this little set I used has pretty green grass on it. Anyway, we're getting a lot of snow here, so I'm feeling very out of season with the cards I made. But Simon Says Stamp had a new release for December. I will link to the release in the description box below the video. A lot of it very, Valentine themed, etc. And really cute, lots of cute things. I, of course, focused on the new Kathy Zielski CC Design set. I've had people contacting me about it, asking, what I thought about it. And I was like, trust me, the video is coming. That was the first thing I used because when I opened the box and saw this, if y'all, those of you that know me, I snorted. I thought it was hilarious. So that's what I used. And I am planning on combining it with one of my very favorite die sets, the little mushroom die set that I've done many videos on. And if I remember, I'll put the link to that playlist in the end screen. So stay tuned. I have some plans. But I used the stamp set today. I did some very simple alcohol marker coloring. I did some dry embossing with one of the new stencils, because that's always super fun. Still managed to add in a bit of splatter. You guys know. So, as always, I will have links to everything I used to make these cards in the description box below the video. My links are affiliate links. That just means that if you click on one of my links and end up placing an order, I get a little kickback from that at no extra cost to you. It is what helps pay the bills, keeps the heaters running, enables me to keep bringing out content. That's enough rambling. I need to wrap this up, get all the editing done, and like I said, I have snow to shovel. So let's get into making these cards. So yeah, this is the Shiitake stamp set. Kathy Z. Love it. Love it. So I took the little mushroom images from the set and I am stamping them onto Simon Says Stamps 120 pounds smooth white cardstock, my personal cardstock for alcohol marker coloring. There's all sorts of options. You can always use, whatever works for you. I've just been using this for years and I like it. And I'm using my MISTI and stamping the images with Simon's Intense Black ink. Again, alcohol marker friendly ink. We got lots of options now. And this is the one I've been using for, I don't even remember how many years it's been. Many, many years. Anyway, after I'd stamped them, I'm using my Copics this time, and any alcohol marker will work. You could even try this with other coloring mediums. It would just maybe take like drying time between, but really it's not so much a technique per se. It's just the way of coloring. And this was something I picked up from Giannis Makula. Did coloring this again like years ago. And I was like, I love it. I love the look of it. And I've done a couple videos that I can remember doing this. And I forget when the last time that I did this. And I was looking at the set and I was like, ooh, it's the Yana technique because that's where I learned it from. So all you do is color in your like area of choice with the lighter shade. And then the subsequent darker shades, you just draw a line however you want, whether it's straight, curved, because it's going to depend on the image you're coloring. And as you can see, I'm not blending them. I'm leaving that like very, like I'm saying the word harsh with air quotes because it's not like super harsh, but that line between the colors. And it just creates sort of a more graphic look. And I love this. I'm going to have to do this more again. Because yeah, it's fun. And you don't have to worry about blending. So this is definitely something anyone can do. You could also kind of experiment with the colors you're using. Obviously, if you're going with very opposite sorts of colors, it could create mud, if you're using alcohol markers. But you could definitely try like other contrasting colors. See what happens. You never know. I kept all mine very similar because I did, reds and pinks. And then for the stems and the undersides of the mushrooms, I did just warm grays. And all the same thing, just adding in the lightest shade and then just picking a spot, you know, pick a spot and you draw in a line and then you just fill it in with the medium shade. You could just do two, you know, just do two shades. I went three with everything just because I do really like that look, but even two is fun. It's just a fun way to color. So I just worked my way around. I've super sped this up in editing. I do not color this quickly. These still didn't take that long to color, but I don't move this quickly. I wish I could have moved this quickly when I was shoveling snow. Have a feeling I'm going to regret that in the morning and that my, you know, all my joints are going to be sore. Because, yeah, we got a decent amount of snow. It was deceptive. It didn't look like much, but, you know, when you're shoveling all the snow. Anyway. Yeah, like I've always said, I wish I could, you know, move that quickly when I'm house cleaning and, you know, doing the boring things. But the coloring, not so much. It's fun. So after I was done coloring, I took my white gel pen to fix some little mistakes here and there, you know, where I went outside the lines, etc. And then just to add random little highlights, a few little dots here and there, you know, it just zhuzhes it up. It's just fun. So after I did all of that, I cut the little panel apart and then used the coordinating wafer dies to die cut all these little guys. And after I was done die cutting all of the images, I took the leftover cardstock and I stamped the little grassy parts. That's what I was saying in the intro. There's little grassy bits. Right now, it's going to be many, many months before I see green grass again. Anyway, I stamped the little grass images with PEARFECTION positively saturated ink. And then there was coordinating wafer dies for those as well. So I stamped them and die cut them. And for the sentiments, this is where the set just, oh, you guys know, I love punny sentiments. Kathy Z has done a few sets over the years, you know, some of them downright spicy. I get quite a kick out of it. I love it. So this one has got quite a few, and it just, there's a good mix too of like occasions. So I went with two different ones. So the first, like these main sentiments, I stamped onto black cardstock. I used my anti-static powder tool, inked up the sentiments and stamped them with clear embossing ink. And I stamped them a couple times to get a good coverage and then coated them with detail white embossing powder. And then I'm going to melt that with my heat tool. And then I took a couple of the sub-sentiments from the set. And like I said, there's many. I'm quite, yeah, you can do so many different like card designs. And like I said, I'm going to mix these with my little mushroom wafer dies. I've got ideas. I just need more time and less snow. Anyway, I took red cardstock for the sub-sentiments. Did the same thing. Anti-static powder. Inked up the stamps with clear embossing ink. Coated them with Simon's detail white embossing powder. Tapped off the excess. Melted with my heat tool. Once everything was melted, I just used my little microfiber cloth to buff away that excess anti-static powder. And then for the large sentiments in the set, there are coordinating wafer dies as part of the little coordinating die set. So I use those for the large sentiments. And then for the smaller ones, I'm using my sentiment label wafer dies from Simon that came out eons ago. And I have two sets of the sentiment label dies. I've talked about that in like past videos. I literally bought a second set just for convenience. So things like this where I have more than one stamped, I can then die cut them both at the same time. Convenience. So taped everything into place, die cut all of these with the wafer dies. And then I pulled out this is the new Falling in Love stencil. I thought it was just cute and I wanted to create like a subtle background with it. So to do that, I'm just embossing the cardstock with the stencil, which I've shown in most die cut machines can do this. Because most come with an embossing mat. So with the Empress, I used the cutting plate, the metal shim, the embossing, that tan colored embossing mat. And then I place my cardstock, which is again just Simon's smooth white cardstock, and then the stencil, and then my other cutting plate, and I run it through my machine, and that just presses the stencil into the cardstock. So you get a very much more subtle effect than you would with, using press plates or embossing folders, things like that. But it's there. And it's just another way to use your stencils and just get different looks with them. So after I had embossed these panels with that stencil, I decided to trim them down. They were originally A2 size, so 4¼ by 5½ inches. And I knocked like a 1/4 inch, I think, off of these panels. So they ended up being 3¾ by 5. And then, of course, I'm going to add some splatter. Just a little bit, not a ton. And I'm going to make my own custom color. I've shown this in a couple past, like recent videos. I used some positively saturated ink. So this was carnation ink this time. And then I add a little bit of my white gouache to my palette. And then just a little bit of water. I just dip my brush in water and swirl it all together. And you can make, all sorts of colors. Now you can splatter with just ink. I've done that, but more often than not, I don't like the look of it. I find that sometimes the inks, if I splatter with just ink, the way it'll like soak into the cardstock, it just will look almost splotchy, I guess is the only way to describe it. So I've been loving like just mixing it with my gouache because the gouache makes it sit on top of the cardstock. I know, am I splitting hairs and getting ridiculous about splatter? Yes, I am. But again, all y'all that have been watching me for however many years, you guys know how much splatter means to me. So I got reasons, all right? There's a method to the madness. Anywho, splattered the backgrounds, let it dry, which took absolutely no time at all. And then I had cut down a couple more panels of just thinner white cardstock, what I like to call my trash cardstock that, I don't like for like card fronts and ink blending, things like that. But I'll use it for lining the insides of my cards, that sort of a thing. So I stamped a couple more sentiments from the stamp set with the intense black ink. And then I stamped a couple mushrooms using a couple shades of gray ink. I used Simon's Flannel and Fawn inks. And then I stamped one of the little grass images just for that extra little pop of color. And then these I'm going to adhere to the insides of my cards, which were our top folding A2 note cards that I had made from some light pink cardstock that was in my stash. And I'm going to adhere those panels to the insides. And then for the card fronts, I decided I originally was going to take that little like sub-sentiment strip and I was going to trim it down, like we normally do. But then I decided to leave it as is, like, with that extra length on the side. It just worked. So that's what I did. So I adhered that directly to the background. And then for everything else, I'm using a combination of the craft tacky glue and different levels of foam squares. So I'm using like the thicker foam squares and the thinner ones just to create the dimension, because for the most part, these are clean and simple cards, which I don't do very often. I talk about this a lot. I love clean and simple. I love the look of it. I personally think there's quite a bit of art involved in clean and simple and restraint, which y'all know I don't have very much restraint. But yeah, I would classify these as clean and simple. But as always, I will most likely make up for it, when I do like 5 types of splatter and 5 million products and all the things that I, like to do. But every once in a while, I do enjoy the clean and simple when it comes together. And that's just how these came together, and they were fun. The coloring was fun, and the embossing with the stencil and a little bit of splatter and the sentiments, I like them. I like them a lot. They're punny and different, and they're so fun. So I showed just assembling the one on camera. The other one, same thing. I just moved around, where I placed the little mushrooms and little accessories. And yeah, shockingly decided not to add bling. I don't know where my brain went with that. I think I got interrupted with 5 million other things. But again, everything just worked, and then we got the cute little insides, and these were just really fun little cards. So like I mentioned in the intro, I'll link to the new release, and then of course I'll have links to all the supplies I used. That will be in the description box below. And as always, I appreciate y'all so very much for hanging out with me, for thumbs upping and commenting. It helps a ton, and I very much appreciate it. And subscribe if you haven't. I'd love to have you. And I will see you all very soon in the next video. Bye! Thank you so much to my amazing Patreon supporters. For anyone that might be interested in joining my Patreon community and supporting me, the link to my Patreon is in the description box below the video. For everyone else, as always, thank you all so much for taking the time to watch my videos, for thumbs upping, commenting, subscribe if you haven't. I'd love to have you. And here's a couple other videos for you to check out in case you missed them. Bye!